Friends and enemies. Welcome back. Canadian Bitcoiners podcast on a bitingly cold day here in Southern Ontario. My name is Joey. That's Len. Len, happy inauguration day. How are you?
I'm good. It was chilly. Is that why it was indoors? That's the reason why.
Yeah.
Official reason. Yeah. Anyways, how are you, Joey? Are you staying warm over there?
Yeah, super warm. I got the big hoodie on today. Took my dog for a walk a little while ago. It is like freezing out.
And here I am in my golf shirt ready to
Yeah,
post
like
it.
I don't know. One of us is wrong here. I'm not going to say which one, but clearly there's a disconnect here.
This type of garb inside. Eternally, it's summer where I am.
Yeah.
And I try to keep it like that because,
eternal summertime of your mind or what?
As long as mentally I'm in summer, I don't care. I'm happy. I hate the winter. I can't stand it. My car starter, 23 years, rest in peace to that guy. It's gone. Yeah, but got a new starter and it's back on the road. Although
back on the road, baby. Let's keep it going. Well, we got a big show today. Obviously, we got to talk Trump. We got to talk the coin that Trump pumped for him and his wife. I don't know who else got one in the family there, a bunch. We got to probably talk some pardons, probably talk Coinbase loans. If you're a Gazan trying to escape a ceasefire, interesting. You get another $5,000 from the government here.
Not that much. No.
3,500 per couple plus 1,500 more per kid, right? I'm pretty sure that's the total.
Geez, and I'm gonna take a look. It's 3,000 per adult. Okay. So if it's a couple, it's 6K for a few kids, and
it's a lot. It's not bad. Not bad.
But they base it off individuals, so not per couple. It's individually you get that.
We're gonna talk about all that. Before we start, the sponsors, EasyDNS, Mark, and the team, the Friendly Neighborhood Registrar. If you want to start a website, start a business, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with EasyDNS, but we'll talk about the websites first. If you need to buy a domain, you want to port a domain, doesn't matter. Mark can help you with that. He'll take care of it for you. He'll help you with everything you need. When you bring a domain over or buy a domain, what do you get, Len? You get your own personal email. You get all the virtual private server stuff that you need if you're a Bitcoiner. You get DomainSure to ensure that you stay secure. You don't get rugged by some, hacker who spoofs your domain, steals people's data, blah, blah, blah. And best of all, Mark is a Bitcoiner himself. He's been taking Bitcoin as payment at EasyDNS for years now. I think a decade, probably since 2014, if I remember correctly. And just not a guy that you need to worry about in terms of having your content taken down. Incredible service over there. We've been using Mark for a long time. He's been a friend of the show and obviously a partner of the podcast as well. Couldn't ask for a better headline sponsor. Go over to EasyDNS. Use the promo code CBP Media. You get 50% off your first round of buys. You can't beat that. That's great business, man. And not to mention that if for some reason you're unsatisfied, you get your money back. Not that you would be. We've never heard of anyone being unsatisfied with EasyDNS, and I don't expect, listener viewer, that you will be the first. Who's the second sponsor?
Yeah, it's Bull Bitcoin, and they're not obviously in it to hurt you. They're in it to help you buy some Bitcoiners. If you want to sell your Bitcoin, you can do that as well. We can do it on-chain Lightning. Last I checked, fees were low. Let me check again. I should have checked earlier, but I didn't here. 9 sats for BByte. We're kind of creeping up a little bit. Still on-chain is the way to go. That's my opinion. So if you're don't want to buy, don't want to sell, you want to do some other things with your Bitcoin, you could do that with Bull Bitcoin. Say you still have a large credit card bill from Christmas. It's the Christmas hangover. You got to pay it. One way to pay it is use the Bitcoin that you have stacked. It's gone up in price quite a bit in the past year. Actually, more than that. So, why not pay your bills with your Bitcoin? And Bull Bitcoin will enable you that with their bill service. Other things you could do with your Bitcoin, you could use that to buy gift cards and start spending it in the real world. So if you have to go like Home Depot and you got to repair something on your house, or say you want a coffee at Starbucks, well, you're good to go. You could get one of those gift cards over there. Not only that, Bull Bitcoin, they're expanding in the Eurozone. So if you're in like Francia, Italia, Svizzero, Germania, so many places you could be, and you could get access now to Bull Bitcoin. So if you're there, check it out and use our promo code. And if you do that, at least in Canada, you get $21 added to your account. No questions asked.
Those death slams going to show up loud and clear in the waveform when I'm doing the audio editing later tonight. The third sponsor,
very angry, my friend, very angry.
Central Technologies. Len and I were just talking. We have a couple of miners to give out to friends of the show, sitting to my right. And if you didn't get one of the CBP branded miners, it's probably too late. But if you didn't get a miner at all and you want one, you don't care if it's CBP branded, I mean, these are the guys you got to be talking to. The Decentral team. Yeah, look at that thing. You can't beat it. The thing hums quiet. Okay, Len's got it right up to his mic there. No noise. Your wife's not going to divorce you. And if she does divorce you, you might have enough money to pay for the lawyer if you hit a block mining solo. So good for you. Good luck with all that. Don't forget, too, that if you want to mine at like a garage level, something with a little bit more scale, a little bit more intensity, these guys can help you with that, too. They have everything you need in terms of board maintenance, in terms of unit maintenance, in terms of unit acquisition and buying these things up front. And, as a Canadian company, too, you really got to throw your support behind these guys because there's tons of ways to do mining, but not many originate in Canada. We like Kaboom Racks. We like all these other companies, but they're not Canadian. If you call Decentral Tech, you get a Canadian guy. A francophone at that. So you better speak French as well. But if you're looking to start mining, these are the guys you want to do it with. They've been great friends to the show. And, we don't have a promo code or anything. So head over and start your Bitcoin mining today. Yeah, as Boomer says in the chat, get a Bitcoin miner for your wife's boyfriend. He'll love it. He'll love it. So let's do a little housekeeping here. Or we'll go to the boost first, and we'll do some housekeeping just for the show schedule coming up and what we just went through as well.
All right. Well, the boost, my apologies, because a lot of it's been lost in the sauce here. And so I actually had to go back to a transaction to find a few. For whatever reason, Fountain doesn't amalgamate them the way it used to do it, but I was able to find all the boosts. So we have Wartime, 333 sats. And like always, a fire emoji and a couple of beer mugs doing the cheers. Wartime, you're on ball. Every week, we get one or more for you. So thank you very much. Duggan Roop, 1,028 sats. He says, glad to hear from Francis again and Bull Bitcoin's international expansion. Love the legacy question. What can I do now to leave a mark after I'm gone? And then how can I pass on the resources to ensure they'll be able to continue along the hard path? Lambo chat can be left for others, 100%. 100%, yeah. Not sure if you want to expand on that, Joey, because you were in that interview and a lot of people loved it.
Well, let's go through the boost, and I'll talk a little bit about the Francis interview and a little bit about the other interviews we did last week and what we have coming up as well. Okay, so we have Shirtless Summer, 950 sats. He writes, the Liberal Party should be napalmed, and you all clap along like zoo seals. Joey quotes are always worthy of sats. Hope dumb Canadians don't get fooled by WF Puppet Carbon Tax Carney. And last but not least, we have Sir Snacks a Lot, 970 sats. I'm not sure what attracted me to listening to the CBP, the highbrow information content, or the tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theories, but having them both in the same episode. Wait a minute. What tinfoil hat?
I have maybe a little tinfoil hatty, I guess. I have no clue.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, it says, but the having them both in the same episode is why I keep listening. Ban the banks and the Fed and be self-sovereign.
Totally.
But Bitcoin don't care. It don't care. It just keeps on running. It's a network on its own, and I'm securing it. I got my node doing its thing. Well, I got my node over there doing its thing. I got my miner doing its thing as well. So I'm, completing the circuit.
TikTok,
Joey,
block, baby.
You have some things you want to chat about, past, present, future, I'm guessing.
Yeah, okay, so let's talk a bit about what's going on in CBP land here. So last week we did 2 interviews, one with Francis, which, Francis is obviously a sponsor of the show, but he's, I consider him a friend. I've talked to him in person and online, and, we've been to the same dinners a few times at this point. And like, the guy is he's just incredible to talk to because he's so mission focused that I think he's one of the only guys in Bitcoin who really is like truly head down, thinking about nothing besides Bitcoin and sovereignty. And the sovereignty he's thinking about is for himself, for his family, as you mentioned, and for Bitcoiners, and for his company, and for his country, and all these things. And he wants.
Is he coming back to Canada for the conference?
He TBD. We can talk about that after. I talked to him a bit about another trip he's making soon, but we can't talk about it on the air. But this is a guy who's like serious, about Bitcoin and sovereignty. And a lot of people are serious about Bitcoin, but to do the things he's done and to take the risks that he has especially over the last 4 years, 5 years, I guess at this point, there's no one else doing this stuff. I've said before that if you look at the gap between what he says and what he does, it's very small. And if you look at the gap between what Jack Mallers says and what he does, it's very big. And so Francis is actually a guy talking the talk, walking the walk, and delivering on things, not only for his business, but for the Bitcoin space broadly. And it's something that's becoming more and more rare as the space grows. So yeah, big shout out to him. Thanks to him for coming. Also, Francis has never heard of plugging in his computer or cell phone before a podcast starts, I'm pretty sure. So this is like the third or fourth time he's been on. Every time there's a battery crisis at about an hour in. So enjoy that.
A good gift idea. We could get him an UPS
power bank. Yeah, let's get him something he can plug in. Second interview I did last week was with Mark Ribito. Mark is has been a big influence on me. Not only in my strength training, but also in the way that I think about certain things in my life overall. Ribito is a guy who has, really simplified what the industry wants to be a very complex, money sucking, time sucking, gatekeeping subject in weight training. And it really is as easy as adding a little bit to your bar every week and trying to lift it, and then drinking a ton of milk and eating a ton of eggs and sleeping enough. And I guess having enough sex to keep your testosterone up if you're a guy, and whatever the equivalent is for women. But like, it's really that simple. And, talking to Mark, I think one of the things that you should take from that interview, and you should be listening to Starting Strength Radio too, by the way, if you listen to this show, you'd love that podcast. One of the things you should take from that interview and from Mark and from the Starting Strength method is that almost everything can be reduced to something simpler and more effective without the frills, without the fake expertise, and without the gatekeeping, the way that he's done it with weight training. I think that's really valuable. And we're seeing that in Bitcoin a lot, right? I don't need inflationary currencies. I don't need the Federal Reserve. I
was just going to go there, Joey.
I just don't need it. Yeah.
Keep it simple, stupid. This applies to almost everything in life. You don't need to overcomplicate things, over-engineer things.
Totally.
Make it simple.
And Ribito's done that. And the results are significant. There's a guy on his channel, a kid, who at, I think, 235 or 245 pounds, overhead presses 405. 4 plates aside, overhead press. Now, it is the starting strength / sort of strength training version of the overhead press, which is a lot of kind of lower back and there's a bit of a swing, but it's a white light, and I think like when I look at that video and I look at the replies and I see the people who are against starting strength broadly, they're all, they got the physique of a melted piece of licorice. Like, you're fucking weak. You're a loser. And the reason you don't do starting strength is because it's fucking hard. It's hard getting under the bar for 300. It's easy to do split squats with 30-pound dumbbells in either hand. It's hard to squat 315. It's easy to do lat raises with 25 pounds, 5 sets of 10 reps. It's hard to overhead press 155. It's hard. And Mark is right about the simplicity, and he's right about the difficulty. If it ain't hard, it ain't worth it. And if it ain't simple, then you don't need to be doing it. And
this, I gotta pick your brain then. As you get older, is it still wise to go heavy and lift hard?
I am stronger today than I've ever been.
But you're only 30 something. I'm talking older when you're talking 40, 50, 60.
I don't know. I think that I have a lot of room to go. And I think, Starting Strength has programming the programming basically changes at 40. But I mean, when Mark wrote these books, nutrition was a lot different, and sleep and hydration, all these things were a lot different. And he's revised the books a few times. I have one here in front of me. Actually, I have both of them here behind me. And, like, these things will get easier. The same way that I happen to think that teams who don't sign elite level running backs because they're 27 and 28, pretending like it's 10 years ago, and running backs they got more miles now or less miles now, and they're more well managed and their nutrition is better and all these things. I think it's the same for weight training. The older you get, if you told me 10 years ago that I would go through an Achilles tear at 33 and still be like the fastest guy on the field, basically anytime I play football, I would have said no way. But the medical treatment and the understanding of injuries and nutrition and all these things has changed. And so it's not specific to me. It's everybody who's been doing these things properly for a while and sees that there's opportunities for more strength, more growth, more development. And Ribito, to his credit, way ahead of the curve, and still is ahead of the curve. He is not. We talked about it a bit. I'm actually going to send him Safe's book and then Open Dime, and we'll see how it goes. I will say as well, Ribito, I mentioned this after the program, and I don't know if he's okay with me saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I asked him why he doesn't do too many away games, because he is really a wealth of knowledge. And unless you're looking for that podcast, you'd never hear the stuff that's adjacent to strength training. Like we talked about before, it's kind of this KISS method for living, right? Keep it simple, stupid. The reason he doesn't do it is because he doesn't think that a lot of podcasts have any value to add and have no production quality. And he's like, I would come back on your show anytime. I really enjoyed our conversation. I think you're doing something. Man, I'm so flattered by that. I've had a lot of guests tell me that they think I'm a good interviewer and that they think our podcast is good and you and me are doing something that's valuable. But coming from him, man, like that, I think is a high bar. And I'm like, I can see myself like blushing a little bit talking about it. I am so psyched on that interview and I can't wait to do it again. I hope that he comes back on in the future and we can talk a bit about what's going on in the world at that time. He is a wealth of knowledge that people are not tapping into at the rate they should be. And I truly feel
let me know when you send out that the book. And because I may secretly mail you a node and we could just almost complete the circle here all together and have you run it. This would be awesome. If we could get you doing that, like this is the goal for 2025 to get you finally fucking running a node.
Yeah, I'm sending it
so cool.
for people who don't do Bitcoin and you're sending me a node because I haven't done it yet. But no, that was good. And so this week, that was last week. This week, we had the mayor of Vancouver send us a feeler a couple of weeks ago. And I'm going to talk to him tomorrow night, 7:00. Mayor Ken Sim is going to come on the show. He's done, I think, a few other shows, Brunel's show. I don't know who else talked to him, but he wants to talk to us, and I'm happy to oblige. I make no guarantees that we will stay on Bitcoin, and I'll tell you why. Vancouver is a city with so much potential and a city that's being destroyed by drug use. And I've seen it firsthand. I have some experience with it here in Hamilton, and I think I could have a conversation with him about that as well as Bitcoin. And I think that he's going to have some good answers in both cases because Bitcoiners, people who understand Bitcoin understand things like incentive models. And for him to understand Bitcoin and not understand what's happening in Vancouver, I think is very unlikely. I'm looking forward to talking to him on both subjects and whatever else comes up. Maybe I'll ask him if he can squat 225. I don't know.
But a lot of it is it's out of his control. I
totally agree. I'm not looking to place blame. I'm looking for his views on what's happening and what's the way out of it. That's all.
If you look
at he's also a new mayor. He hasn't been there long, right? No problem.
If you look at the way Canada is structured, as per law, there's really only 2 layers of government. There's the provincial government and federal government. That's the way all duties are delegated as per the federal law. And within the provincial law, they sub-delegate to municipalities, but still they roll up. If the municipality screws up royally, or if another jurisdiction under the province screws up as well, school board, for instance, they could step in and take over. They have the ability to do that. There's only 2 levels of government. So municipally, they only have so much they can do. Their hands are tied. They're dealing with what the province gives them, and the province of BC, you know what it's like. We talked about it at length.
Yeah, show. Orange. So
sometimes it's blue. We've had
I know,
right? It's everywhere. It's just blue there is different than blue elsewhere.
So we have Mayor Sim tomorrow, and then Wednesday night Phil Back. It could be Bach. I have to double check how you say his last name. If you don't know Phil, I would recommend heading to his Twitter account, which I think is just Phil Back. You can check it out on it's on my feed for sure, because I tweeted out about the guest a little while ago. He's a market commentator and a guy who I think has some unpopular opinions about markets, probably about Bitcoin, and just about the general direction of, I think, financial culture and culture more broadly. And so I'm looking forward to speaking with him. He's a guy who I don't hear too often on podcasts. In fact, I've only heard him once, and it was on Chris Iron's QTR, his podcast, maybe a year and a half ago or something. He's a guy who's, again, like, I think there's some underfollowed accounts, and I think he's one of them. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to say about, what's going on in financial markets with the election, obviously, and the inauguration happening today. He's going to have a lot to say, and he's not going to be afraid to say what he thinks, which is always valuable and always exciting here on CBP. Those are the only kinds of people we talk to. And then I don't even know who we're talking to next week. I have to remember. I think it might be BTC BAP for this Bitcoin space in Denver on Wednesday, if I remember correctly. So sit tight for that. That'll be good too. But
how come we didn't get an invite to this Denver event? I mean,
we get invites to everything. We just don't go.
I didn't get the invite to fucking Denver. I would have loved to have gone to Denver, but not now. It's too cool.
Everybody I talk to invites me somewhere, and I am always, happy.
Nobody invites me anywhere, which is, you know what?
That's just your speed, yeah.
I'm consistently consistent, so yeah.
Let's roll. What do we got?
Yeah,
that was 19 minutes of nonsense. Let's talk about something important.
Trump got sworn in Trump coin. Run
Trump
with
and
it, Joey.
dub.
This one's yours. Go ahead.
I don't care that much about this. Like, I think that it's legal, so do whatever you want. There's a lot of retards out there, so buy it and get rugged by Barron, and whatever else happens. But the thing to keep in mind here is that, and I said this to you and Mark, in our sort of sidebar, the likelihood of this administration not doing some kind of reserve of Bitcoin and other nonsense is basically zero. The likelihood of them doing a Bitcoin only reserve is basically zero. It's going to be some mix. It's going to be a menage of garbage. And all these VCs who are part of the quote unquote administration transition team, like, these boys got heavy bags because alts have underperformed generally, especially stuff from the last cycle this time around. If you look at some of the highs, I know people talk about XRP and all these things, but it's like 20%, 30% higher, I think, last I checked, than it was last cycle. Meanwhile, Bitcoin, has done almost a clean double, getting from, or I guess not quite a clean double, maybe like 70% or something like that. But the idea that these guys like David Sachs and Elon and Vivek, who's not going to be part of Doge, I read today, he's worn out his welcome, according to some people. The idea that these guys don't have any coins that they would like to see the value increase in is wrong. And I think if you look at some of the, the likelihood that suddenly the corruption in politics is going to stop, like, no, Trump is a lot of things, but he is a money maker, first of all. And, he's not going to pass up an opportunity to make a little bit of coin on his investments. And of course, get his friends rich too.
So
those dinners don't pay for themselves. Good for Bitcoin.
How and why so?
Anything that removes clouds from the feelings that the administration has toward Bitcoin, good. So if they put something in a reserve or say they're not going to sell, even if it's with other stuff, I think it's good. I think everybody in the market understands what Bitcoin is. There are people who make money and get engagement by pretending they don't, but everybody understands. Shitcoiners, altcoiners, TradFi people, I think everybody gets it that Bitcoin is the thing, and they can pretend they don't get it. But even if it's, Bitcoin and XRP or Bitcoin and Solana or Bitcoin and whatever, everyone knows who the king is, and that's not going to change. And so it's good for Bitcoin, medium, long-term, whatever. You don't think it's good for Bitcoin? Like, I think everything at this point that's related to Bitcoin from the US government, so long as it's not a ban, is good. Everything else is directionally
even
good.
A ban, it's good for Bitcoin.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? It's not a problem, I don't think.
No, it just adds to the whole degen situation out there, where a lot of people are just rolling the dice trying to make a home run here, trying to hit one out of the park, and good luck to them. It's not, in terms of like having Bitcoin. I'll take a step back. What's the goal with Bitcoiners, really? Like, what do Bitcoiners? What do we want?
The thing I want the most is for the mempool to have more pictures of Donald Trump. Isn't that what you want?
No.
The most?
No, that was a very costly image too.
Oh, fuck yeah.
No,
Sure.
it's replacing the monetary system, right? It's
Definitely,
putting
yeah.
a hard asset in there where you could have transparency, and you don't have money being printed and people manipulating money and weaponizing and so forth. What's been done in the past few days has done absolutely nothing to get us a step closer. Hasn't gotten us any further, but it's done neither closer. So it's neutral towards Bitcoin with respect to achieving that goal. To me, that is the ultimate goal.
Let me ask you something.
Not for number go up.
Okay, I was just about to say, so you're separating NGU from financial, replacing the fiat. Are these not one and the same to you at this point? Like,
no.
Isn't one driving the other? And vice versa. Like, they're driving each other. It's a nice flywheel, I think.
It helps bring in new folks, because the thing that people like, they want more wealth. And if the number go up, they could say, oh, this is a place where I could park some money and then get more out of it later on. So it's a way to adapt, to attract new people into it. But in the end, what it is I don't want my money to be devalued.
Yeah.
And that's what Bitcoin can provide. There's a set amount. Nobody could take that from you. Nobody could stop you from using it. Nobody could manipulate it, weaponize it. It's a beautiful thing. Again, going back, nothing in this past week,
no matter how much,
has done nothing to achieve that.
Exactly. Exactly. No
So
matter how
it's-
much
to-
Jamie
it's crap.
Jerkoff, yeah, no matter how much Jamie Jerkoff Diamond says that the 21 million is not credible, it's just not changing. And the transactions are censorship resistant. It's not changing. Can't be done. You're totally right. You're totally right. Like usual, like usual.
Hey, so I look at that and I see this Trump coin, this Melania coin, and all this other garbage.
How about the Melania launch, Len? Like, the Trump one I expected, but Melania? That is like, Baron, put the phone down, buddy.
So there are people out there
launching.
Their sole purpose, and you hinted on it, is to enrich themselves. You can only do that if you take away from somebody else. Granted, it's a system where they could create more money, and more money can be generated. Still, but by doing so, you're devaluing the currency and hurting a lot of other people. But when you do something like this, you're encouraging people to, or trying to usher people into this system where they could just gamble it and then get wrecked in the process. That does zero for fucking the end goal for Bitcoin. It's absolute. And then, I mean, on a tangent here, today we had the World Liberty File. I don't know what the fuck it's called. They bought a swath of things.
Wrapped.
Like Cardano, I saw on the list. But fucking wrapped Bitcoin.
Dun, dun, dun.
Like, could you imagine going out there and say, I got Bitcoin? It ain't fucking Bitcoin. It's
I haven't wrapped it in like 13 years. I don't need to. I'm trying to stay away from that kind of product.
The ultimate in terms of a power move would be if Vitalik rolls back the blockchain and that fucking wrapped Bitcoin is now gone. That's fucking power. That's what he would never do that, of course. But
no.
That's the deal. But that's the ecosystem in which you're operating in. It is centralized garbage. And to claim that they've bought Bitcoin, or at least make a connection with buying Bitcoin, I don't care who buys Bitcoin. Anybody could fucking buy it. Here with the fucking charts. Anybody could fucking buy it, and they could do whatever they want. They could burn it. Fuck you. It's all the more power to you. But to buy something that is heavily tied to a shitcoin or a shitcoin network and to say it's Bitcoin, like, fuck you. Like, it's pathetic.
Yeah.
And people,
do you know how
there
Wrapped
are people
works?
calling them out for this? There are some people who are not calling them out.
Yeah. Do you know how Wrapped works? Like, I was talking to our friends Wayfaring and SB today for a bit. Yeah,
somebody has to hold the Bitcoin for you, so you go.
They
and you
buy,
buy
like, it gets bought, and then yeah.
Right. So
I mean, like, it's just
wrapped Bitcoin gets created by a market maker.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I fucking read up on this.
There's no point. Like, I don't understand. At least before, when I was talking shit about this, I really had no idea what it was, and now I know what it is, and it makes me more likely to talk shit about it. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you ever buy this? Why not just buy Bitcoin instead of this other stuff? Because is it because you save a step in converting the cryptos? I don't know.
There's more to it. Then if you look at all the domains that were bought up in the past couple of days, I sent a link to this. I'm not sure if you saw it. Worldliberty.eth, trumpcoin.eth. These are domain names. erictrump.eth, barontrump.eth. They all purchased these in the past. So they're wearing ETH hats, right? Like if .eth.
I did see that.
Using Ethereum network. This is not fucking Bitcoin. This is shitcoinery. Like, do whatever the fuck you want, but don't say you're a fucking Bitcoiner.
Help me understand. So I'm looking at this chart here, the Wrap BTC price chart. I guess this is in ETH terms. Is that what it is? I don't know. How is this going down?
I don't know.
What? I don't understand how this is measured. I am so out of the loop.
Let's simplify this with your Mark Rippon discussion you were talking about earlier.
Mark Rippon.
Guy won a Super Bowl, by the way, Canadian born. It's very simple. You could buy Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And it really boils down to either 12 or 24 words. And you could make it more complicated if you want. You can have multi-swing of phrases. There's a lot of, but if you really want to simplify it, it's just 12 or 24 words. That's all it is. There's nothing to, and that you will always have access to it as long as you're the only person that has access to those 12 or 24 words.
Yes.
And there's it's something beautiful about this. When something like this, I see it, they bastardize the name Bitcoin. And they try to fucking attach their wagon on it. There's no fucking connection.
I know.
Get the fuck away. Don't say that you're a Bitcoiner. It's fucking pathetic.
You're right.
And
You're right.
he was at a conference, at a Bitcoin conference, talking only or mostly Bitcoin, but the people behind him, right? Like, and I don't want to name, it's like talking about Diablo, but it's like the people behind him, like they're just there to try to enrich themselves as well.
I think
trying to use the good name of Bitcoin as fucking.
Who are you talking about?
Who's the people that are celebrating the selling of $500 million and stuff? Like I just look at quoted tweets.
I don't. He didn't.
Right?
I don't think he sold.
Celebrate all you want. That's fucking bullshit.
He didn't sell. There's like a lock on it or something. I'm pretty sure. We're talking about this too. It is true, and I think for people, listen. God bless all the vigilantes out there, the Predators, the Zach XBTs, like pinning down these wallets and stuff. Even David Bailey, you know, like pointing out that it's wrapped Bitcoin on Etherscan or whatever. Great. But like, don't let this get any more of your time. Don't do it. Like, I think David Bailey's doing some good stuff. Obviously, like I'm a fan of his, even if you're not. And like, there's people in that circle who understand what he should be doing and what he's promised to do. And to your point, I think a lot of the people in that circle are there for self-enrichment. I mean, who's not in the Trump circle looking to get rich? Who's in that circle? You know, like they're all trying to do that.
Let's fucking call it like it is.
Yeah,
and those are the people that they want to make bank off you.
Yeah.
They don't want it to sell.
Len is pointing at you, by the way, not me. He's not
everyone. And it's everybody out there. I don't give a shit if you are not. I'm pointing at everybody out there. When I tell people to buy Bitcoin, I'm not telling them for them to enrich me. I'll be blunt here. I hope Bitcoin remains low in price for the next 7, 8, 9 years. That would be my fucking goal. Because then after that, I hope it rips, because I could accumulate as much Bitcoin during that time. And by the time I'm ready to pack it all in and go somewhere warm, I would have a great deal of wealth. But it's outside my control that this shit could go wherever it wants. If it rips, great. If it doesn't, great. I have no fucking control over this. But I'm not trying to tell people to do this and trying to do this to enrich me. I just want to make sure that my money doesn't get debased. That's it. I don't want other people to have that same thing. And I want people to unplug from a system in which people that are closest to the powerful folks get the most.
Yeah.
In Bitcoin, that doesn't happen. How do you get more from something in a network that is equal? Everybody's the same. You buy and you buy.
There's no benefit. There's no benefit.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's fucking, this is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm trying to achieve. And all these people that are trying to make money, fuck them all, including the people that, and I don't want to mention the name again, that you did, said, they are there to fucking enrich themselves. What are they doing with their magazine over there? They have these marketplaces in which they sell absolute trash, and the trash does what? But anything, it drives up the price of the transactions. They did it, and they did this with a smile on their face because they were making money in the process. But all of us in the end were suffering because if we had to move our fucking Bitcoin, we had to pay extra because the network was fucking congested. Now, it's a totally different argument altogether. I could go into the weeds here if I really wanted to, but I won't. But they're not fucking Bitcoiners. They say they're Bitcoiners. They're wrapped Bitcoiners. That's what they fucking are. They are fucking ETH Bitcoiners. Fuck them all. Every one of them.
I wish everybody involved a lifetime of riches and success. Where are we going next? That was good. That's like 40 or half an hour. I guess that's good. I thought we were there longer. Thankfully,
let's talk about Coinbase because they launched
a
new DeFi partnership. So good for them. And people over there, you're able to get a USDC loan without selling your Bitcoin. So if you are a Coinbase customer and you have some Bitcoin, you could use that to get some USDC, because, you know, in the United States and a lot of jurisdictions, if you sell your Bitcoin, you're subjected to taxes. So this is one creative way to get around that. And this is available for customers in the US, excluding New York. So if you are in New York, you may want to relocate to a different place. But anyways, what they're doing here, it's another wrapped thing they're using. They're using a Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin, CBBTC. It's almost a CBTC almost in a way, but CBBTC. So when you borrow against your Bitcoin, your collateral is automatically converted to this Coinbase Bitcoin. It's 1-for-1, and it's done for free, and it's done on what they call a Morpho protocol. When I just read this shit, it just makes me want to fucking puke. And so I get it. They don't want to do a taxable event, but given the fact now that it's being converted, does that make it taxable? I don't know. this is something I don't have the knowledge. But either way, people could borrow up to $100,000 worth of USDC, depending how much Bitcoin you pledge, and users could be subjected to liquidation if it goes down to a predetermined level compared to the collateral value. So, one time we let's be honest, we had a sponsor, Ledin, that offered this type of service, but
the B2X loan, the daisy chain,
a lot of
right?
things. Yeah. But during that time, and I remember I talked to you privately about this, there was a lot of things going on. It's like, my gosh, like one time I was like, this is actually a good product, but there were events that took place that realized, you know what, holding your own keys is paramount. There's
invaluable.
Nothing. Yep. You should. I understand the tax implications and all this, and try to get around that, but the reality is, if you don't want to sell your Bitcoin because you don't want to get taxed in it, just hold on to it for longer, or relocate, or simply wait for the laws to change. Good luck. Those are your options. Where could you go? Portugal, I believe, has favorable tax laws to Bitcoin. El Salvador does.
Yeah.
There's probably a host of other countries as well. So check them out. There are other places you could go and live off your Bitcoin, so to speak. Do that rather than use this type of service, because in the end, there's a lot of, BlockFi, Celsius, a lot of these companies out there, they got wrecked. And if you're going to give up your coins just to get some USDC, you could get wrecked as well.
It's pretty important, I think, to look at the direction everything is going. So, for example, Senator Lummis in the States, talking these days about the key to Bitcoin. I don't want to say success. Success is not the right word, but to your point, to advantage Bitcoin holders and bring them up to speed with other asset holders in terms of tax opportunities. The biggest thing is this de minimis tax exemption, right? Anything that you spend in your Bitcoin stack under 10K or whatever it is shouldn't be taxable. That number is pretty good. I wish it was higher, but it gives you an opportunity to not have to give up your keys so that your Bitcoin becomes collateral for a fiat loan. You can't have that. That's not a good idea. And it's not a good idea for two reasons. One, the volatility is just too much to handle, and you have to be able to recollateralize that loan at a higher LTV during periods of economic difficulty in Bitcoin. Today, Len, the price of Bitcoin moved $9,000 in the course of like 12 hours. I don't know if Ledin would call a loan on that. I don't want to pick on Ledin. There's other businesses that do this, including Coinbase.
No, from what I gather, Ledin wouldn't. It would have to be like a very large percentage change.
And so maybe they wouldn't. But like, you don't want to expose yourself to these price swings. You can't, because you're not going to have a chance to collateralize the loan or recollateralize it or whatever. And all you're doing is giving up more of your Bitcoin for more fiat. And it's not a cycle you want to be in. That's number one. Number two, I'm actually not convinced that this is going to be a loophole for long if everyone starts using it. Like at some point, much the same way that ShakePay now asks what wallet you're sending stuff to, the government at some undetermined, year in the future may say, yeah, we're tired of losing tax money on all these stupid loan products. So now anytime you send Bitcoin in excess of $10,000 to an address that you don't control, it's taxable. And like, that's an obvious hole in all this stuff. And if that doesn't happen, right, if they actually don't care about that, then the likelihood of favorable tax legislation coming to fruition here and in the States and wherever else is fairly likely. Those two things are not directly correlated, but I think there's tight correlation there. And so I just don't see the need to give up your coin for those loan products. And then, of course, on maybe the third reason, you're not getting all the benefits you think you are. You're getting scalped for money and fees. You're getting scalped and arbed, and your stuff's getting repurposed to pay the interest. And it just, every time this happens, it's the same story. And I would stay away from this, especially from Coinbase. Coinbase is not a company I would be interested in giving the money to. Not because I think they're going to lose your Bitcoin, but because you see a story basically every day of someone whose name you would recognize, like they're a big enough player in the Bitcoin / crypto space on Twitter, not being able to get their money back, getting weird shotgun KYC or weird shotgun fund holds or weird shotgun account holds. Why would you want to subject yourself to that? I would never want to do that. And I don't imagine I'm never going to.
One time I would have said this is a decent product, but just given what has transpired since I've really focused on Bitcoin, there is no substitute from holding your own keys.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to play the game just for tax efficiencies, good luck. Good luck to you.
Yeah, totally.
All right, let's move on. Blockstream I'm not sure if you saw this. They released a new product called
Let's
the
pull it up.
Blockstream Jade Plus.
Yep.
And there's, remember, the Blockstream Jade, and now there's a Blockstream Jade Plus. It came out in the past week or two. And the price range is between 149 and 169 USD, and it's depending on the color you choose, which will be dependent on the price. And compared to the OG Jade, the Plus has a screen that is 66% larger. It has no more plastic body that the original Jade has. The casing now is aluminum, so it's going to be much more durable, and you'd expect it to have a longer life in terms of the outer shell. Included in this is something very interesting called a secure element chip. We talked about this, what's in Cold Card. Doesn't have it in the original Jade. It does have it in this. So it eliminates the need of having a blind oracle, where the original Jade, it encrypted your PIN and sent it off to a server to verify that you were the user. Obviously, that's not the most secure way of doing things. Doing it now internally on the chip itself makes it easier and more secure, because you're not relying on anybody, you're not trusting anybody to verify who you are. And so that one of the issues I had with the previous Jade, the original Jade, is it needed a physical connection in order to do any upgrade to the firmware, to the software.
It needs to be either connected to a computer, or it needs to be connected via Bluetooth to the green wallet on your phone, which is then connected. Obviously, it goes, the server obviously comes in and goes out, right?
Yeah, so there had to be some sort of connection.
Yep.
Now from this one, it has the ability to use an SD card, so you could get the information from their website or verify it, put in the SD card, and do it air gapped, a la the Cold Card.
Yep.
And so it's a totally air gapped environment. So I look at this, the Blockstream Jade is definitely a step in the right direction. It still offers, if you don't like Liquid, for instance, it does offer support for that. Some people don't want added support. They just want Bitcoin only. That's your jam if that's the case, or it's not your jam. Either way, this is, you get the Canadian, everything I get is in USD because I'm in,
yeah, you get your VPN running.
Yeah. So I look at this, and it's a good product, a better product than the original Jade. I'd recommend, if you're looking for something, another wallet, consider this. I would suggest do some more research. I'm not going to give this the stamp to go ahead to get it yet, but at least from what I could tell, it's getting closer to the Cold Card. Is it matching it? Well, we'll see. The software is open source, from what I remember. You could look at it. So a lot of good things here that I could see.
Good mobile app. Like Green Wallet's really, really strong. You can use this with Sparrow too. You can use this with all the usual stuff. I think there's actually a slide here, if I remember correctly. I don't know. Oh yeah, here we go. Sparrow, whatever this is. What is this? Nunchuck, Blue Wallet, Electrum, Keeper, Spectre. So lots of options. I remember we both bought Jades a while ago to test them. I think when we were just like not starting out, when the show started making a little bit of money, we bought Jades to test them. I liked the Jade, but I think the screen is too small, right? And this one looks like it has a little bit of a better screen, which I appreciate. Overall, though, the thing I would say about Jade compared to, the other hardware wallets on the scene, the closer you get to a Cold Card, the more expensive you get. And the more expensive you get, the more likelihood it's better to just buy a Cold Card. So like these guys are all kind of fading the same way. Cold Card Q is a better product than this. Unless this camera is incredible, or unless this screen is incredible, but to your point, Cold Card Q, more secure, pure air gap, all that stuff. Had it for a long time, has the NFC. Or
what is the price of the Cold Card Q versus this?
It's like 300. It's like $300.
So there's US, Canadian?
Yeah.
So there's, it's
the gap is like, another $80. So
yeah.
Or if you want to get a gray one, it's $50. Yeah. And so like, is the Cold Card Q worth an extra $50 on top of this thing? Yeah. Keyboard. Like I think so too. And I'm not,
again, but I'm not going to show this in totality because
me neither. That's not fair. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, from what I can see of all the specs and everything, it's again, like I said, it's trending in the right direction. Is it Cold Card capable, or at least on par with Cold Card? I don't know. But the one thing it has, though, that for people that do like it, and I've talked about my displeasure of it, if people want to have functionality with Liquid Bitcoin, this provides it, and Cold Card does not. So Cold Card is Bitcoin only. Thumbs
Yeah.
up. This is not. I'm not going to give that the thumbs up. So, right? Let's be honest.
This is probably the silver medal Bitcoin wallet, hardware wallet. I would say it's definitely a podium finisher. I don't know what else you'd put on there, but
Seed Signer. A lot of people.
Yeah, but I think
that.
It's hard. That's a hard thing to get going, as far as I understand, compared to this.
I don't know. I have never used it, but from what I gather, it's a heck of a device because you're using your Raspberry Pi to do it. So it's all you do it yourself. And once you turn it off, it wipes everything. Like nothing is saved. So
like I put that below this. Honestly,
I don't know. It depends what you're trying to achieve, right?
I guess.
How often do you?
If you want to just fucking lose your mind trying to figure out a fucking Raspberry Pi like it's 2005, you want to secure your wealth on something that you fuck around with on your own on hardware that's 20 years old, then sure, Seed Signer's for you. But if you want something that's semi-reliable, verified by many people, not something you can completely fucking ruin, and that you are comfortable storing, a significant amount of money value on, then I think you're better off Cold Card or this personally. I would not do a Seed Signer. I would not do a Seed Signer. I'm not the most technically savvy, but for me, it's like, what is the risk there? The risk is
I don't think it's as great as you say it is, or you're at least hinting it may be, but I can't say it's not because I haven't used it. But just given the feedback and all the talk about it, it seems like it's a good enough product to be considered as an alternative to Cold Card. And the reality is, how often do you or anybody out there sign transactions? I rarely do it. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if it's wiped and you have to start again and import your seeds, if that's how it is with the Seed Signer. I'm not even sure because I haven't used it. But is that really a big hurdle? Like, I have a watch only.
That's not the hurdle. The hurdle is doing it on a Raspberry Pi, and the Raspberry Pi has no secure element. For example, is a great reason why you wouldn't use one. Like that's a good reason right there.
Yeah, I can't speak on that. I haven't looked too far into it. So yeah. We'll just go to
we'll get Huddle D on here. I'll bring him over to the house and we'll talk about why this thing's.
I would love to have like somebody like him. But also somebody from the Seed Signer camp.
Who's in the Seed Signer camp? Who is it?
I don't know off the top of my head, but it'd be awesome to have somebody like from both sides of each talking about their product and saying what are the pros, maybe the cons of what they have and what the competitors have.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we're all Bitcoiners. We all want to achieve the same.
NVK can come back on and we'll bring on a Seed Signer guy.
I would love to.
Guys, I think.
He does, but... Yeah. Let's it'd be great to have a civil discussion as to why this is better than the other one, or maybe they're on par. I don't know. I could
only one way to find out. Only one way to find out.
Well, to try it out, and you know what? Like I said, I like my Cold Card a lot.
Yeah.
My Cold Card Mark IV, so much so, and I respect that the Q is better than the Mark IV in almost every respect. In fact, every separate price.
Yeah.
I'm not replacing my Mark IV because I like it so much. I don't want to see that thing.
We ordered a queue. Remember, we ordered a queue. There's a queue sitting in my shelf outside that I haven't set up.
I don't want it.
It's like sitting by my PlayStation.
I just don't want it. I like my Cold Card Mark IV so much. I would. It would almost pain me in a way to see it collect dust because it's a good product. It does everything I need it to do.
Yeah,
it's like kind of like my car in a way. Like it does everything I need except when the starter dies. But once the starter is replaced, it's fine. And I would hate to see it collect dust and just put away. Because if it's functioning, if it works, fuck it, I'm keeping it. I like my Cold Card Mark IV.
Totally.
Ontario Teachers Pension Plan. We
ragged on these guys so many times over the last few years, just so bad. I ragged on them on Money Talks before. I've ragged on them like everywhere I go. I'm like, teachers pension here. You think that pension's safe? Look what these guys are buying. They're so bad.
$95 million USD, by the way, USD was invested in FTX. That
was in the third round. The third round. So they actually invested in that twice in the third and fourth round. So they didn't do their due diligence, not one time, but 2 times, man. 2 times.
Well,
come on.
That's all been written down on the books to
Yeah.
$0.
Yeah.
That's basically pissing 95 million USD away. That's what they've done. So a member of the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, he's basically had enough of this bullshit, and he decided to file a lawsuit against the pension plan for not conducting proper due diligence. And it's, quote, during its due diligence and investment approval process, the board failed to obtain adequate and reliable information about the FTX entities' internal controls in the critical areas of management and governance, finance and accounting, as well as digital assets management. So it's pretty damning. And the lawsuit is, what I see here, is 100% right. They failed to do it. If they've done it, they would have been so much better off by not investing. Or let's go one step further. What if they bought Bitcoin and they just held on to those keys? They still have that Bitcoin. That Bitcoin wouldn't have been lost, and it'd be worth a heck of a lot more in terms of the dollar value. When did they purchase into FTX? That was in 2021, I'm thinking, right? Maybe
Boomer noting here, it is the top of the cycle. Like, the timing could not have been worse from the pension plan. Could not have been worse.
Well, they did a terrible job.
Like someone's getting rich on all this shit, and it ain't me and you. How many?
Well, no,
like how
Christopher is saying them and everybody else. I didn't invest in FTX.
Me neither.
And I'm pretty sure, Christoph, you didn't invest.
And by the way, the pensions, Christoph, like I don't expect the pensions to be to be lumped in with everybody else, right? Like the pension, much like the market conditions thing. Okay, when you get rich, your financial advisor says that their strategy was good. When you get crushed, they say the market conditions caused the problem. When the pension doesn't do well, what do they say, right? When the pension underperforms or whatever, what do they say? They say, oh, we're conservative by nature. We have to make sure that our assets are well protected. It's an important institution, blah, blah, blah. And then when they get fucking nuked, okay, we can't say, well, everyone else did it, because they don't do what everyone else does. In fact, they make a living doing what everyone else doesn't do, which is play conservative, small ball. They're hitting singles. They're not swinging for the fence. And so I don't buy this. Oh, they did it like everyone else did it. No, that's not what they do. They're not supposed to be doing that. That's the whole point of the pension. And
they made some good purchases in the past, though. Remember, way back when they purchased Maple Leaf Gardens, whatever it was, the MLG, all that, and they made a pretty penny off that, and also Shoppers Drug Mart.
Great.
Those two purchases?
Wicked. What about the other ones?
You know what? There must be a lot of shitty ones, but I'm trying to give them credit for what they've done well. Those two purchases, they printed them money.
Yeah.
Now in this one, piss poor decision.
Did MLSE did MLSE do better than MLSE do better than Amazon, Apple, Google, Meta, or Nvidia over the last 15 years, 20 years, 30 years? No. So they missed all that. Did Shoppers Drug Mart, outweigh the amount of dollars they fucking lost investing in CN Rail and Canadian banks? Like they're not, these guys are not untouchable in terms of performance, even though the reputation they evangelize for themselves would tell you otherwise. It's just not the case. They're not doing that well. If they were, again, I will say this until the fucking cows come home. Okay. CPPIB has already started this trend. The teacher's pension is going to start it soon too. If you were that well funded, okay, you wouldn't have people, or if you were doing that well, I should say, you wouldn't have people fucking suing you about due diligence. You wouldn't have to write off FTX. And like we talked about years ago, and like we'll talk about again right now, if you made that mistake once, where else have you made the mistake? What other cards are waiting to be turned over? We'll see. We'll see.
It's stupidity because this is
greed. It's greed.
It's fiat.
Yeah.
Like everybody else that we know that do this kind of things, where they work their job and then they spend time after work to try to secure whatever they've made. The simplest thing to do is just buy Bitcoin. Do that. You're much better. You think of all the time you could save by not reading charts, by not reading news releases and all this shit, comparing companies, which ETF is better than the S with management fees and what's in their basket. Who the fuck gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's all fiat.
Totally.
Just if you break it down and just like this is seems the theme
We've
of the show.
Been breaking it down over here on CBP.
Yeah, but it's trying to keep it simple, right? Like that seems to be the theme of the show. Like with respect to Bitcoin, how much more simpler could you get? Everybody should be doing that. Fuck looking at these things. Fuck all this garbage. Fuck the TFSA. Fuck the RSP. Fuck the 401ks. Fuck all that shit. That's all fiat trash. Every one of them.
Do you know, unrelated, this will be the last story we talk about on the Bitcoin side, but I want to talk to you about when my daughter was born, a lot of my family asked me if I had opened an RESP for her yet. And if they could give me some money and write me a check for an RESP. And I said, I'm not going to open one for her, I don't think. And got a lot of weird looks. But one thing that has landed in terms of talking to them about whether or not an RESP is a good idea is, it's basically just like this one line of argument, right? The RESP is only available to you down the road, tax-free, if you go to an institution that's sanctioned by the Canadian government in terms of post-secondary value or whatever. You don't want to be at the mercy of the government for sure. But also, are we not entering a world here where post-secondary education is basically worth nothing?
Well, you have the answer to this question, and I'm not going to say it is.
But it's not a sure enough thing to give away that money, not be able to access it for 18, 19 years, and I'm not going to talk about fucking stock market as opposed to buying Bitcoin, as opposed to buying like fucking anything. I would rather buy anything else in almost any other vehicle than open an RESP today.
One could almost make an argument, and I'm not going to make this argument, but one could almost make an argument in RESP is an acceleration play because you also get money from the government when there's a matching thing. I forget what it is.
It's only a match if you use it in the way that they tell you have to. Otherwise,
how do they tell you?
If you have to use it for education. And so the argument I was making is, look, how do I know that my daughter's going to, first of all, want to go to one of these stupid fucking schools? How do I know that those schools are going to be worth anything in terms of career prospects in 20 years? And how do I know that any of the stocks I put the money in are going to, perform the same that Bitcoin would, that anything?
Yeah, 100%.
But you can't.
This is it. You could buy an ETF, a Bitcoin ETF, but using that logic, Joey, and you're 100% right. What's the longevity here? Like, at least with Bitcoin, I'm always having access to this. Yeah. When it's in any vehicle that's with respect to an ETF or anything to do with the markets, I have to wait. If I want to pull out my money in the market, first I got to make the sell, wait for it to get cleared, then go to my bank, then I can pull it. It's days on end.
At least the sell is instant. Like in the RESP, you can't sell. Like the sell is
instant on paper, but in reality, it has to still do the clearinghouse garbage. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we don't see in this fiat machine.
Yeah, it's the T+2 or whatever, T+3. I can't remember what it is. Yeah.
So if shit really hits the fan, which
you're stuck,
probably won't. But when I say probably, there's a hint of chance it can happen. What the fuck do you do when you don't have access to your money? Yeah. You got to wait 5 days to get it out. By then, if things, if you really want to go down this road here, and if things go really bad, what's the value of your dollar in 5 days compared to this now? If things are really bad,
that's true too. That's a fair point. Yeah. So if you end up going down that road,
yeah, and then with Bitcoin, you always have access to it as long as you have internet connection and the fucking network is running, which seems to be always running. Like, what? I can't see. Like, it's just such a beautiful thing, man. Fucking wrap Bitcoin. What the fuck was he thinking? Fuck?
We're going to go to the notable stories here. I just want to say there's like 800 people watching this, which is, a little bit more than what we usually get. I won't say how much we usually get on a Monday night. It's a pretty good number, but it's not 800.
We got maybe 4 people. Boomer and 3 others.
Our wives plus Boomer. Yeah. And Jordan, that's it. 6 people. Tore Up is here every week. P-Man is here every week. Who else? Pleb is here every week. There's a bunch of you guys. I don't want to leave anyone out. I'm not going to say any more names, but there's like 800 people watching between YouTube and Twitter, which is fucking awesome. With that said, we're going to split the show right here. We're going to go to the notable stories. If you're on audio listening after the fact, the rest of this will come to your feed tomorrow. If you're anywhere else, stay tuned. We got more coming up.
And don't buy wrapped Bitcoin. The fuck? Who the hell's doing this shit?
Where you want to start on the notables? We got some bangers. We're gonna start with election announcements. We're gonna start with Carney. Where do you want to go first?
Yeah,
you pick. No. You're driving the ship. I'm just along for the ride.
Now let's fucking do this liberal convention or
Sure.
leadership thing, because there's now a bunch of people that have thrown their name in a hat. Karina Gould, Mark Carney, Chandra, I forget that guy's name, the guy that we talked about last week that doesn't want to speak French or can't speak French. Freeland?
Yeah.
Did I miss any Carney? I don't know. Maybe it's Carney's
Gould,
twice.
Freeland, Carney, the Indian fella.
Yeah, I think that's it. Am I missing anybody? So
No,
yeah, like
that's
it. So we have basically, that's the lineup, right? Like there you go. Who's the best of the lot? It's up to you to decide if you're a liberal supporter, liberal.
And if you're not, just become one. It's very easy.
Yeah. It's funny to see now, in a very short period of time, the narrative surrounding carbon tax.
Yeah. Did you watch the interview? I think one of the Bull guys shared it with us. The interview that Freeland did today with former CH News anchor, actually, Nick Dixon. Notoriously difficult to talk to at a bar, if you believe the St. Catharines lore about him. Talking about the
Mark
carbon
Hebscher?
tax.
That guy seems like a cool dude.
Hebscher's the best. I have Hebscher stories I could tell you.
I love when he and Mark Tanti used to do Sportsline back in the day.
The Hebsy Award is the best.
Yeah, the Hebsies. Yeah,
he's great. Anyway, Freeland talking with Nick Dixon about, well, a couple of things, right? Number one, how would you have handled things differently? You know, if your finance minister resigned, what would you have done? Freeland going, well, first step is not to tell your finance minister you're firing her after she delivers the fall economic statement 3 days before she delivers it. That's the first step. Like, that's pretty harsh. That's a bit of a knife in the back, though. I think
she's
clearly some animosity between the two of them. Yeah. And the other,
you can see there's a divide here. She's the anti-Trudeau, right? That's the way she's kind of portraying herself. And then Carney's like kind of the Trudeau-ish person.
I really think that, okay, I'll tell you this after, but the other thing about the interview that I liked was when they started talking about the carbon tax, and Nick, to his credit, did give her a little bit of a push. Like, hey, you know, you're telling me now you don't want to do the consumer facing. She's very clear about making that distinction, consumer facing carbon tax. You know, but you guys said to put money in everyone's pockets. So are you not taking money out of Canadians' pockets when they're in the middle of a cost of living crisis? Now, the clip floating around is truncated. It's very short. And I think it misses some context that is a little bit favorable to Freeland. But the overall message is just, you know, we're in a different game now, because as everyone knows, when you have a boss, you do things the boss wants, you say the things the team needs, and they're not always the things that are true. And I thought, man, that is like such a dagger. At the same time that the government of Canada just started running ads on TV about how important carbon pricing is to protect the environment and put money in people's pockets. So you have, on one hand, you know, the GC Jingle advertising campaign, doing these carbon ads. And then on the other hand, Freeland in the press talking about how it doesn't put money in people's pockets. That was a lie. We told that lie because that's what the coach told us, what Trudeau told us. You have Carney at his event saying similar stuff. He doesn't want to do the public facing carbon tax anymore. I don't know what to make of all that. And then on top of that, you have like Karina Gould, who, you know, has been pretty central, I guess is the word, in terms of like liberal comms. Like in QP, she's always one of the ones who speaks the most. And
because she was the House leader. So it's not
even on her portfolio. Yeah. So not even on her portfolio, right? She was like the Minister of Families or something like that.
No, she was House leader. She was.
Didn't she? What was her portfolio though? Didn't she have she wasn't a minister?
Best of my knowledge, not. She was there to like every time there's a fire to be put out in the house.
She's parrying the attacks. That's what she's doing.
Yeah,
right?
it's a tough position to be in, but she messed it when she was dealt with.
I like how. So I'll tell you something I don't like, and then I'll put something I like around it. Right, this is the old management thing, the compliment sandwich, sort of. This is more an open face compliment sandwich. The thing I don't like is that these guys are all liars, all of them. They'll say anything, and they, you know, I have had so many conversations with people who I think are really smart, including members of my own family, over the last few years, saying the carbon tax was bullshit. Obviously does not put money in people's pockets. Obviously is not a net gain for 80% of families. Obviously, this whole thing is a lie. House of cards, wind is picking up, all that stuff. And kept on hearing from these guys and girls. But it puts money back in people's pockets. The government does this because it supports the economy for the lower income earners, lower carbon users, blah, blah, blah. Turns out none of that was true. Freeland admitting as much today. It's just not true. And Carney, who has been in the press many times over the last little while about how he's an outsider, those policies are not his policies. Like, they are. You advised on that. You're in many different speaking engagements, videotaped, recorded, quoted, clipped, remixed, whatever, talking about carbon taxes, the importance of carbon pricing and pollution pricing. So you're for it.
You know what his position is with the UN?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
UN, you name it.
No. He is the carbon advisor or something.
Yeah, he's an
special envoy.
role. Yeah.
Something like this is his fucking appointed position.
Incredible. And like, these people, by the way, running as quote unquote different from Trudeau and outsiders, you astutely pointed out to us last week in a private chat, and I'm going to say it now.
No, this is well known. This was done in December.
It's not well known. I can't find this anywhere. I can't find it anywhere.
December of last year. So like December, like last month. Sorry.
Okay, you say it.
Well,
for people who say Freeland and Carney and Trudeau and all these, they're all different from each other. No, tell me why.
No, there's enough of a connection because Freeland, one of her kids, the godfather is Mark Carney. Amazing.
The incest at the highest levels of influence in the Canadian political scene. It's fucking everywhere. Okay. Carney running as an outsider. The guy was the governor of the Bank of England during Brexit. Fuck that up. Governor of the Bank of Canada during the 2008 crisis. Fuck that up. His actions led to one of the biggest bubbles in all of human history forming in the Canadian real estate market. Disasters in the cost of living for Canadians started there with him. And by the way, for an outsider, the guy's fucking signature is probably on the $20 bill in your wallet. So to give you an idea of how much of an outsider that guy is, that's how much. Then you got these guys talking about how they're different from Trudeau. No, these guys are buddy-buddy at dinners. They're fucking skiing together. The Laurentian elite is the swamp here. And these guys are all in it. And they want you to believe they're not. They're lying. All of them are lying. That's the thing I don't like. The thing I do like, though, about the campaign is the vitriol. These guys fucking hate each other.
It's typical.
I love it. I think the debate, if there's ever a leadership debate or something akin to a leadership debate for the Liberal Party, that'd be must-see TV. I don't think they have to do it by their rules, but it'd be must-see TV. And I also think that there will be at least one bang-up, blow-up, home run clip of whoever loses the Liberal leadership debate trashing whoever wins it after the first leaders debate leading up to the election. Almost a guarantee. I can already picture Freeland or Karina Gold getting on TV with Vashi Kapelos or with, I don't know, with fucking Nick Dixon, fucking Sid Sixero, who's now a political guy, apparently. I thought he was a fucking sports guy. He goes getting on TV with one of these people, right? Either Question Period, Power and Politics, whatever. And just ripping the performance of whoever wins Liberal candidacy. Not necessarily because they disagree with the viewpoints, not necessarily because they don't want them to rule the day, but because they just hate them. And that's what I'm asking if
he wants to attend the debate as an accredited CBP reporter.
Can we get accreditation? I mean, Carney's kicking people out of his fucking.
What? No, come on. Mark Carney, if he wins,
Mark, I'm talking to you now, Mark. If you wanted to do a campaign event where you would only get the CBC crowd, you should have done it in Toronto, buddy. If you want to do an event in Alberta, Edmonton, of all places, you're going to get Western media. The Western media fucking hates you, man. That's obvious. Incompetent campaign management. No security. Okay?
He did it there for the reason he is born there, right?
Oh,
he's trying to say, look,
cares?
I'm coming. No. There's some... It's not going to work, I think, because there is a method to the madness here. He doesn't want it to be put in the same situation as Michael Ignatieff, where I still remember
little late, just visiting. Little late for that.
This same thing could apply here with him. If he loses this Liberal leadership debate, what are the odds he's still going to remain in Canada or just pick up and go somewhere?
He's not going to stay.
Right. He's turning 60 in March.
Yeah.
Why stick around?
People
In
who
a
are 60
country
would
that's
have you believe
cold.
that's the new 30, by the way. But go ahead.
You can say this guy, and this is what I would do if I was go to a Caribbean island if he doesn't win.
Yeah.
Right? It only makes sense. Enjoy your life. You're only on this earth for a set period of time. He must have the means. Why stick it and fight it here through the cold weather, a devaluing currency and shit like that? Just enjoy what you have and just do like that. But
Totally.
he might win. Right? It's basically between the front runners or him and Freeland.
Yeah.
Whoever they run out there is going to get absolutely lambasted. Freeland can't win and have any aspirations of winning the election. She has not separated herself enough from the current regime.
She's speaking against herself in some of these media appearances. I'll go back to the one with Nick Dixon talking about how Trump doesn't like weakness and she's not a weak person. And, you know, he'll have a hard time with her because she just refuses to bend the knee. And then also saying that I had to bend the knee, talking about the carbon tax, talking about immigration, talking about like, it's just, I said this to you and to Mark privately. I'll say it on the show. When I looked at Carney on the Daily Show, now I will be the first to admit that was like the softball interview of softball interviews, and Jon Stewart did a lot of the work there. But I thought Carney,
that's exactly that.
But I thought Carney, for his part, you know, he's only asked to catch 5-yard hooks, and he caught a couple of 5-yard hooks. And Stewart was throwing good balls. He's reading the defense. That's fine. Carney did what he was asked to do. I will say that if you compare that performance to the performance he gave at the Edmonton, whatever that was, something Heights, I forget. I think it was called Prime Minister, I forget who, but something Heights. If you look at those two performances, it's almost unbelievable how bad he was in front of the podium. Then I look at Freeland and Nick Dixon. Freeland, when she's kind of freestyling with Nick, I don't want to say likable, but she's a lot more likable than I remember her. And then when you see her during her Boys and Girls Club thing in Toronto, her announcement, she's not likable. And I just wonder, and I said this to you, Mark, is it the party messaging, the party apparatus, the party PR standards or whatever? Not that they're necessarily hard and fast, but it just seems that in any event where they're forced to read either from a piece of paper or from a teleprompter, they're stale, they're cold, they're lifeless, they're politicians in the worst way. And then when they're freestyling, yeah, but when they're freestyling, though, yeah, but when they're freestyling, they're like fucking good, you know, like that's.
Palmer wasn't even like that.
And so I just wonder, like, is it a party that's fucking killing these guys?
No, it's who they are. I don't think.
I don't get that at all. Maybe I just like more authentic appearances, and other people prefer something that's a little more packaged and polished. But it just looks so weird to me that they would keep bringing these guys back to settings where they look like the politicians that every major country is trying to leave behind, as if we're any different, you know, like they don't get it. And I listened to the Strategist podcast against my better judgment today. Those guys are retarded. They're terrible strategists, and none of them are ever on winning campaigns. One of them is working on the Carney campaign. And like, why would you hire these guys who don't do well anytime they're called on? It's just like over and over again, just obvious mistakes. And you could say, Joey, what do you know? You're a podcaster in your basement. Well, I don't know, man. It seems to me like we've been ahead of the curve on a lot of stuff, not just me and Len, but just like the broader sort of fringe Canadian public has been ahead of the curve on all this stuff. How do you justify using these guys, right? And exactly, they have no.
This is they are going to be sacrificial lambs.
Oh,
whoever
God.
wins this is going to get absolutely fucking wrecked. If there was a way they had something on Poilievre, they would have busted it out by now. Trudeau would have busted it out because he would have done so
to try and save his own. Yeah, you think,
right? And the fact nothing has been released to date means they have nothing that they can say, oh, there's a skeleton in Poilievre's closet, let's use this as the ace up the sleeve. Doesn't exist. So they're going to get absolutely wrecked. Okay, so they're going to get wrecked. Everybody agrees on this, I believe. So what's going to happen after that? There's going to be a cleansing. And you're going to have a different direction in the party. You're going to have a whole new set of folks come in and try to rebuild from the ground up. It kind of thing like it was done like 15 years ago when after Ignatieff, they kind of did that. But here we are. It didn't have the longevity that it.
Not even close.
Maybe they got it right. There's a lot of overlap between them and the NDP, and I think that they have to eliminate that overlap. because you don't need the redundancy of that. I said it before. The Liberal Party in the center or close to the center,
They're the
sometimes
Knicks,
right,
man.
sometimes
They're the
left.
Knicks. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They
You gotta,
be,
if when they're good, everything is more fun. But when they're not good, it's like it's boring.
it's
right?
just the sad reality is like I think what I want. Actually, I know what I want. It's probably never going to happen. The world has changed a lot in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Well, the world is always changing, but it's changed quite a bit. That if you stood on this ground 20 years ago and you were, say, center of the political spectrum and you haven't moved, you haven't changed your ideas one bit, you're now far right.
Things around you shifted. Yeah.
And so that's the sad reality is that there's been enough changes just in general that what I think should happen with the Liberal Party probably will never happen.
Do you know Liz Truss was on Peter McCormick's show? Boomer's noting here that he sent me a clip of her warning Canadians about Carney. I don't know if that was on his show or not.
She was even tweeting about that.
Do you think we could get Liz Truss to come on this show to talk about Mark Carney? I would
love we could do a play-by-play of every second of her being the prime minister of
Well, it's only like 10 minutes. I mean, we do a longer show than every week.
But I would love to do that because it's just play-by-play, just deep dive into her daily life, everything that was done when she was prime minister.
She was the one who tried to make a hard decision for that country and immediately was ousted, like unceremoniously and very publicly. So, and she was right. She's going to wind up being a figure that's revered, I think, in 10 or 12 years.
Think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember what was the reason.
Depends when you think this whole thing is going to collapse, this whole fiat Ponzi scam. Like we got, I don't know how close we are, but you got to figure in 10 or 12 years, it'll be at least more clear to people that she was correct in her assessment of the situation and then things that need to be done.
What was she trying to do? Do you recall? I
think there's something to do with, go ahead. There's something about
I always thought she was like closer to like the next Boris Johnson. Boris wasn't.
No.
That's because she was the successor to him, right?
Yeah.
And so like I just thought like
she was the successor to Rishi, wasn't she? Rishi Sunak was I don't know. Yeah, I forget now. But
it's all whatever. A fucking
Boomer says you can help us get Liz Truss. Liz or Boomer, if you can, like I'll talk to Liz on the phone if she wants. She's a little bit ahead of us in terms of time zone, but
5 hours.
I'll stay up late. Yeah, if she wants you let me know.
Or just do it
Liz,
earlier.
let me know. Let me know, Liz. We'll have you on. Happy to do it.
Yeah.
I want to hear about Mark Carney. I don't know a lot about Mark. I see the stuff he's talked about. I think he is one of the typical politicians that we see here in Canada, but if there's something I need to know, I would like to know it and share that information. And by the way, I would give Mark Carney an opportunity to come on this program and defend his reputation. And I would be fair to him. And I would tell him that I thought he was funny on the Daily Show.
Would you let Jagmeet Singh come on?
Absolutely not. Under zero circumstances.
Why?
You know what?
He stands up in House of Commons. He says when he becomes prime minister, he says it every fucking time.
It's amazing. I say that when I get up in the morning too, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
But he's an elected official.
It's actually more likely, I think, that I become if you went on Polymarket right now and had my odds of prime minister and his odds of prime minister, I think I'd be the favorite.
He is likely, he's gone. So you're going to have the Liberal leader gone. You're going to have the NDP leader gone. Blanchet's probably going to stick around. Poliev will probably become the prime minister. So you're going to have 2 of the 4 still around. The Bloc Québécois is official opposition. It's a possibility. We had it before in 1993, so it's quite possible we could have that again. They get a lot of funding. They get a lot more eyeballs because they're the first to ask questions. They ask the most questions in the House.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I would love to see Blanchet take some shots. Yeah. I love Quebecers. I think they're great. I think that is a person that is much more hardened than the average Canadian, and I think it makes for good TV to let them.
What about an East Coaster? It's fucking no. I don't know about the economy, just generally the weather.
Yeah.
The way somebody described it to me, it's fucking cold because it's that damp cold that gets to your fucking.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the hardiness of like someone in QP. I don't really care about the East Coast.
I just look at I couldn't last 10 minutes out east because it's just too fucking cold for me. Somewhere else, I don't know if I could last in these tiny homes that Hamilton bought. I'm not sure.
You want to talk about Hamilton's tiny homes?
Yeah. Let's talk about this.
I was out at a lunch last week with I won't say with who, but with a couple of people who know about the tiny homes debacle.
Is it Whitehead?
And it's not Terry Whitehead. No, Terry Whitehead had one of the worst fucking wigs of all time.
One time playing a Chidok.
He's like that guy is a legend in Hamilton politics. Him
Yeah,
and Sam
my buddy hit his
Morrell
ball.
also a legend.
My buddy hit his ball by mistake.
He loses his mind.
He's like, what the fuck you doing?
Yeah, he's nuts.
Like, it's my ball.
He's nuts. So I was
what the heck are you doing hitting his ball? Ow, you fucked up.
So we're talking about these tiny homes, and it truly is a debacle. The city rebuked offers from local builders and vendors to have these homes built. They instead, typical NDP Andrea Horwath fashion, reached out to what they thought was an Indigenous-owned business. Turns out that even if it is an Indigenous-owned business, these guys scammed the city. And you may ask, Joey, how did they scam the city? Well, I'm going to bounce you up and down on my knee and talk to you about it. What they did was they told the city that they could build these homes, and they obviously had this angle that they were an Indigenous business and this is good for politics and good for optics and all these things. City said, okay, sure. Did zero research, none, literally nothing, zero. Okay. They probably signed this contract on the fucking toilet and sent it out on their phone. These guys ended up getting the tiny homes for, I think, $35,000 a piece from an Alibaba type company, Temu, Shein type company, whatever, and plopped them down. They are obviously made in China. A lot of people unhappy about this whole thing, and the city will never answer any questions about this, even though there are counselors now who are pushing on it because it's, politically convenient to do so. But of course, none of these same counselors probably had any issues with them using Indigenous businesses. Probably none of them read the proposal dockets. Probably none of them did any research on whether or not this company has ever done tiny homes before, anything like that. Meanwhile, in Hamilton, during COVID, there were a number of businesses that did stuff like outdoor dining decks for local companies, just guys from around the area who were out of work and started up LLCs, building decks and building little structures to separate people from each other.
Sanctioned, Joey. They weren't
they were sanctioned.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Yeah, the city paid them to do these things, right? The city paid them to build these things. We shut down certain lanes on certain streets because there was less car traffic. And so they had these opportunities. And the city, in its infinite wisdom, never thought to reach out to any of these people either, even though you basically had them build the same structure 4 years ago. No one at the city thought, hey, didn't we have a guy who built like a 10 by 10 wood structure for restaurants downtown? Oh, we shouldn't call them. We're going to go to the Indigenous guys. Why? For no other reason than because they were Indigenous. Brain dead.
Oh, they gave a decent. So it was, obviously the Indigenous factor was there too, but the price was also another bonus, like $35,000 per unit, which they thought would have been able to provide more than what it should, because at $1,600, obviously you're not going to get very much. So the idea was that they're going to get a lot more for the $35,000, and obviously they're not. And that's $7 million. That's basically.
I continue to say, by the way, that it's not just me saying this. Anyone in the addictions community will echo this sentiment, and this is well recognized in expert circles, real expert circles, not fake expert circles. That fixing homelessness takes more than putting people in a home.
It's a start.
But it's actually not. It should be the last thing that happens.
They need a roof over their head, Joey.
So you do it in a situation that doesn't give them independence, right? Because what happens is you still have all the habits that forced you into homelessness, and just because you have a roof over your head doesn't mean that you won't continue those habits and continue this path of ruin that you're on.
I think that what's being lost here is that it's a tiny home too.
Yeah.
And we've mentioned
it's inhumane. It's honestly inhumane.
It's not inhumane. Like it almost goes back to that old meme for the WF, you will own nothing and be happy. This is a very similar thing. Because who owns this tiny home? It's not the people that occupy it. It's going to be obviously like the community government owned. And they're not very big. You're not going to be able to host a dinner party.
And by the way, nobody wanted to have those. Nobody wanted to have them in their neighborhood either, which was another sticking point for the city.
They just set these fuckers up in a Home Depot parking lot and use them as a marketing tool. Look at this shed we built. People could live in it. You should install one in your backyard. If it's good enough for somebody to live in it, your fucking wheelbarrow could also live in it as well. So that's what they should do.
It's absolutely insane that this is going on in the year of our Lord 2025. Just there's the thing about
It's not going to get any better, Joey. It's in terms of, man, oh, there's going to be less homeless next year. Oh, they're going to have bigger places. It just continually get worse. The price of homes is further out of the reach of people, right?
Totally.
If you don't have a house, you'll never get one, or for the most, you're not going to get one. Rent, although rent has come down in general in Canada, it's going to go back up very soon, just because, well, everything else is going to go back up. And so it's just, you're going to have the more and more people captured in this category of having fucking nothing.
Agreed.
And they're going to look at that.
There's no escape plan. There's no escape plan for people. And this is why, like, not to go into the weeds here, but these like pardons from Biden, like he pardons Anthony Fauci. Fauci, like we talk a lot on the show about the inflation of the pandemic and the inflation of the response from the pandemic. Like there's a real chance that this fucking guy caused the dream of homeownership to become just that, a dream, never to be realized for like 1 billion plus people all over the world, thanks to the pandemic response and the cover up and the hiding and the lies about the vaccine, the lies about the severity, lies about, like, there's a chance that this guy single-handedly ruined 1 billion different bloodlines in terms of like wealth accumulation. And it's just like, it's almost unfathomable.
One appointed individual has that much.
It's all, is that nuts? Like, is that, am I crazy thinking that that's like, is that too big a stretch?
I think
I'm saying
there's some sort of check.
This is the tinfoil we were talking about at the beginning of the show, by the way. But I think this is like I'm on the right track here. Am I not?
I think there's checks and balances that prevent that from taking place. There's not a dictatorship where you have so much power in one position. So I would lead to believe no.
Nobody else had the power and influence that guy had, right? Like he was on stage with Trump. He's on the the Daily Show, nightly show. He's on the cover of Forbes, like he's on the New Yorker. He's on every channel.
You don't think a subordinate of his looks at the data and says this is wrong and will just shut the fuck up?
I don't think they have a chance to influence the outcome, is what I think.
I just don't know. There's a lot of this. We
need the Fauci trading records, by the way. Pelosi, great, but give me the Fauci stock investment. You know, what's he been putting his money in, that guy?
I you know what? I'll be perfectly honest. I know very little about that guy, and
he fucked up the AIDS epidemic.
I heard, and for whatever reason, I have no desire to learn about Fauci. He
tried to tell everyone in the 90s that by the time like 1994 and 1995 hit, 20% of the American population, adult population, would have HIV. Like then you look at what he said about the pandemic, like COVID. Oh, this will kill everyone. Everyone's going to get it if you don't stay 6 feet. Like it tracks, it tracks. And it's just like, fuck me if he didn't ruin it for literally 1 billion people. How many small businesses? How many people became addicted to drugs and alcohol? How many people, lost their health and wealth thanks to businesses closing or losing jobs? How many people took fucking 6 of those shots? Like they don't fucking
about this,
like.
Joey,
there's just no penalty for this. Nothing. The guy's pardoned.
You mentioned
10 years, 15, 10 years, 11 years, whatever it is.
See, the fiat system was doomed. There was no longevity there. It was just a matter, not a if, but when. Yeah. This whole experiment, which took place 4 years ago, made it go faster, and it brought it much quicker to its end than it would have if it never came into existence. So it could take that. It just helped push this thing along quicker, and it's going to see the end much quicker as a result.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin, it helped make Bitcoin to be a bigger thing than what it was.
I think that's true. Yeah.
So we can take that. Yeah. So, even for me, like, I was not really that. I bought Bitcoin. Like, I never thought much of it. But it's a series of events that took place that really made me understand what the fuck this is, and that shaped me who I am now. Mm-hmm. And without those taking place, who knows? I mean, maybe I'll still be just buying ETFs and shit like that. Right? What a fucking joke I was.
Oh man,
Janet Yellen. We'll talk quickly about her.
Janet.
Yeah, Janet. This is a beauty of a story, Joey, because she's saying that
she's just a little dumpling. I saw that little Buddha body dumpling there walking out of the Federal Reserve building or whatever for the last.
See, I can't say much about her, like as an individual. in terms of like being Treasury Secretary, we get to say, but like, you know, she could be a charming person for all. I have no fucking clue. Again, I know very little about her.
Got a lot of riz, that lady.
I have no idea. Like, you know, if you leave your lights on in your car, she'll be the one that knocks on your door and says, "You know why your lights are on your way." I have no fucking clue about her.
I think it's probably, you know, fairly likely that she is a decent baker, but I'm not sure that she'd bring a cookie to your house. You know, that's the kind of girl Janet is.
Okay, well, see, I don't know. I'll leave it at that because she said that the Treasury is going to have to take extraordinary measures starting January 21st. The timing of this is wonderful because January 21st, which is tomorrow, Trump got sworn in today. Oh, by the way, you inherited this fucking extraordinary measure mess. So basically, they're going to reach the statutory debt ceiling between January 14th and 23rd. So they may have already hit it. If not, it's going to be later this week.
Oh, man.
Like, the timing of this is just wonderful. It's like they just realized it now. They look at the paperwork and oh shit, guys.
By the way,
can run out. Oh, by the way, we're leaving our job today.
I should know on the way out of here. Oh, so, yeah, by the way.
Your desk is there. Here's the keys to the cabinet. And there's nothing, by the way, you guys could do. You guys are fucking.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to get my leftovers out of the fridge. I almost forgot. On the 21st, shit's really gonna hit the fan. Good luck. Take care.
In case money runs out, break glass. That's what they're gonna have to do.
Yeah.
This is the like what the fuck.
Oh, man.
Well, now that I think about it, I was gonna say,
burn it down, baby. Len, what do we say? We gotta burn it down. Burn it down. There's no other. What do we do?
They're leaving nothing for the rap
she
Bitcoiner.
Probably took another 100 million in fucking cash to send over to Vladimir Zelensky or whatever that guy's name is on the way out.
Oh, you know what? Now, fuck. How much more money is going to be sent there? Canada?
Zero. This much. $0.
Well, now that we have,
that's how much.
Wow,
fucking nothing. And by the way, way overdue. Way overdue. Okay.
You know, Joey, there's one more story I think we have to quickly talk about.
Let's do it. I'm happy to.
Canada is giving financial assistance to Gazans.
Hell yeah.
So they're going to be issuing what they call visitor visas or temporary resident visas.
Yeah.
5,000 applications could be filed and approved up to April 22nd. So either April 22nd hits or 5,000 applications. That's the range. So probably 5,000 applications, I'm assuming. People that do apply come here for assistance. Their application fees for their visas are going to be waived, as well as the biometric fees. They're also going to be waived as well. Then when they come here, there's going to be a one-time direct payment, $3,000 per adult, and $1,500 per child. That's 17 sick. Or under. A lot of people here are homeless. I thought there was a ceasefire going on in that part of the world. I don't know. I don't live there. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I could just kind of read what's going on my Twitter feed. I don't really pay too much attention to it, but another 5,000 folks here, you know,
good for them. Good for them. What a haul. Like, isn't that nice? By the way, we can't put you in a home. We can't give you food at the food bank. We can't give you a road that doesn't have a 4-inch pothole in the fucking middle of it. We can't give you police services. We can't give you anything but hallway medicine. But here's the good news. If you're faking asylum, fleeing a country that's about to enter a ceasefire, here's a bunch of fucking money, a boatload of it.
Well, to be fair,
that is like that is such a fucking kick in the dick, you know. To people
be fair,
it
isn't
is it not
a lot of money, but just money in general.
Len, listen, I'm pretty well off. You're pretty well off. Could you do something with $5,000 if I gave you $5,000?
It's 3,000 per adult. So if you give me $3,000,
you got a couple. It's $6,000. Could you do something with $6,000? You got a wife. I got a wife. Could I do something with $6,000? I just had a kid. Can I do something with $6,000?
In terms of,
do they deserve it more? Do they deserve it more than I deserve it? Just say it. Do they deserve it more than I deserve it? No, they fucking don't. No, they fucking don't.
Topic.
They deserve nothing. Nothing.
That's
from the country's coffers.
Probably better.
Zero.
Right, but 3,000 ain't a lot. But it should be zero. That's probably
it ain't a lot. Tell that to somebody who has to send their kid to get a fucking carton of milk at school because they can't feed him at home. It ain't a lot.
That 3,000 would get wiped out pretty damn quick too.
Whatever. So what? That's for someone else. See, this is what I'm talking about. Okay?
The issue here is that it's something you're bringing in more people here in an environment where we're saying it's too full. They are trying to reduce the amount of temporary people in Canada because the system is stretched to its end.
Broken.
The healthcare services, schools, roads,
everything.
Right. So, and a way to help alleviate this, the federal government has said, you know what, we're going to put the kibosh to this, and we're going to not approve a lot of these temporary residents. And in fact, we're going to tell them to go the fuck home.
Yeah, how'd it go today?
But then on top of that, then you have this, another 5,000 people. I get it. It's war-torn, but really...
There's war everywhere. Why do I have to give them $3,000 each? Like, why do I have to do that? Why? The answer is, I don't.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't. And it's not my concern. If you come from a country where you are throwing stones at each other, killing women for showing their face, murdering gay people over Stone Age myths, that's your fucking problem. I don't want to see your flag on the street. I don't want to give you $1 for your fucking stay. I don't want to do any of it. And every Canadian is sick of this. They are sick of it. Look at the polls. Look at the opinion polling. Look at the Twitter feed. Look at the Facebook group. Look everywhere.
I don't understand why this is being done. I could kind of understand because of the fact they say, okay, it's humanitarian reasons. But at the same token, you're saying that the people here that are here temporarily, you're saying you're not going to be able to keep them and they have to go home. So you're trying to kick out a bunch of people, but then bring in others. It's almost kind of an offset. So it doesn't make sense. If perfect environment when you have the economy humming along, and unemployment is very low.
We've said this
and
so many times. Yeah,
that would be a great environment, but we're not there. We've
doesn't work. It doesn't
changed things in the past few years. Yeah. We're no longer in that position, and unfortunately,
it doesn't work.
5,000.
It doesn't work because if you get free money, you don't have to assimilate. You just live with other people like yourself, and then you wind up with these giant religious protests in the street. Unacceptable. Completely unacceptable.
There's a lot. There's more than that. Canada, you can come here. English is spoken a lot of different places.
Yeah.
So if you kind of like, I always talk about Italy. It's hard for somebody to go to Italy. If you're not speaking Italian.
This is the other bullshit fucking thing I hear from retards on the internet. All these people with the Ukrainian flag and other stupid shit in their fucking bios. Is the UN conventions on asylum. We have to take asylum seekers. I got news for you. Asylum seekers have to go to the first available country. They don't get to cross the fucking ocean to come to Canada. Okay? That's enough of this. And by the way, all this garbage nonsense, international law says that. We got to get out of all these fucking treaties. All of them.
Oh, did you see Trump got out of the Paris Accord today, by the way?
Trump's out of the Paris Accord. The Fed is out of the green policy stuff. The European Union is like, all this stuff is falling by the wayside. We are getting back to a time where we have to look inwards now and fix the stuff that's going on here. These asylum rules are nothing but garbage driven by huge corporations to force you to take slave labor from third world countries under the guise of war and discrimination and other... which, by the way, they are causing as well in those home countries. Enough. I don't want to fucking see any more of this. I don't want to hear any more of it. No more money, no more asylum, no more hotels, no more nothing. Stay home, fix your own problems, and sort it out on your own terms. It's not for me to decide. It's not for me to influence. And as sure as fucking shit, it's not for me to fucking pay for. End of story.
Joey, here's a good one. Hot off the press, Trump says that tariffs could come to Mexico and Canada. 25% tariffs could come as early as February 1st.
Perfect. We need to learn a hard lesson here in this country.
I'm looking at the chart, the Canadian-U.S. chart.
Punishment.
Punishment. As soon as that was announced, it went down from like 70-ish cents down to 69. It dropped almost a penny.
That's a big drop.
Almost instantly.
That's a big drop. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
All these people who voted for these policies, who still have the flag in their profile picture, who still give money to these causes, you are in for so much fucking pain. You cannot imagine how difficult life is going to be for you if Trump decides that he's done propping us up.
It's
you
know
don't
what?
know how difficult it's going to be. You don't.
It will. We've been talking about for years. What is the way to get out of this?
Trump
And
out of the WHO too. Boomer just said pulled out. This guy's on fire for a first day.
Well, I don't want to talk about the WHO.
I gotta watch isn't he signing executive orders in a fucking arena or something? Did I see that?
They
right?
brought a desk over.
I love that. Listen. We're signing off. You should all go turn that on. Come back tomorrow. Me and Mayor Ken Sim.
No, but he's now in the Oval Office because if you look at, he's doing
perfect.
So.
Let's get it going. I gotta turn that on. Come back tomorrow, Mayor Ken Sim. Come back Wednesday, Phil back. Thank you for watching. Close to 900.
Oh, we got another 15 stories to go.
Oh, fuck. I'm out of here. God bless you, everyone. See you tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. It's going to be a good show. 7 o'clock, me and the Mayor of Vancouver. Until then, take care of yourselves.
Take care.